Yeah, so my mom, she really tried her hardest. My dad was kind of a deadbeat, you know. He was a drug addict pretty much my whole life, and they ended up separating when I was about 11. And it was just, I was trying to get away. You know, I got christened like Catholic when I was a baby. I did not spend a day in church growing up. I say like in 6th grade, it was when I really started hanging out with the wrong crowd. I went to school in Parkway, and I was the only white kid in my school. My home life, it was so, hectic that I found my identity in like hanging out with like the wrong crowd. First time I smoked weed, I snuck to the park with my friend, and my dad actually caught me, and he just stayed there with us and smoked with us. Moving on to like high school and stuff, that's when I started partying. I joined a street gang. Really wasn't like an initiation or nothing like that, but wasn't even a big organization. We just really go by the streets down there in Florida. And I started really getting involved when I was 16. So one of my very close friends passed away. They got killed by gun violence. And from that point on, I really dropped out of school. That's when I really started getting deep in everything that was going on. And I completely, my whole life was devoted to just getting revenge. It's evil, man. The things that I did and, the intentions of my heart, everything from there was just about what I had to do to get back. It was getting deep. It was getting really hectic out there. And I knew that it was life or death at that point. And so I moved to Georgia to try and change my life. But I ended up bringing that lifestyle with me to Georgia. Landed me in jail, thinking that my life was over. I didn't think that I had another chance at getting out there. I was already calling my girl, letting her know, like, I'm sorry, I really messed up. This is it. Like, this is all I'm gonna ever be. This is all I'm ever gonna do, is be in jail for the rest of my life. And that's when I realized I really needed to make a change. So I initially heard about A Better Way from my mom and my brother. Matt, we feel like you're gonna go back to jail. If you get out, you're just gonna go back and do the same thing. And I didn't want to admit it at that time, but it was very true, and I'm glad that they held me accountable. When I was on the jail phone with my brother, he was like, yeah, it's an 18-month Christian boot camp. I'm thinking, we're gonna be outside digging holes and singing hymns or something. When I pulled up, I get greeted by this white dude with devil horns tatted on his head. And I look at my mom, I'm like, is this the right place? The office, Brother Doug was like, hey, Matthew, that's a biblical name. And I was like, yeah, my middle name's Paul. He was like, oh, double whammy. And I sat in the barber chair and said I got to get my hair cut. And Pat just came with no clippers and just skinned my head completely. I looked like I was about to jump out of a helicopter or something by the time it was over with. Yeah, the structure here at A Better Way, it's a lot. It's really a lot. It's a lot to take in at one time. You kind of got to play it by ear. But I was really committed from the jump on making sure that I was good on like my room, all my room infractions. I tried to do the best I could. Really, I wasn't here until about my 6 months ago. Like, I was here physically, I followed the rules and stuff, but I really wasn't in the program. My ministry didn't start until about my 6th month. When I hit my head, got in trouble. And, I really started to take a look at myself. Yeah, the leadership when I was coming through the program was pretty strict. We had some hammers coming through. And I kind of adopted that when I first became a leader in like my 4th month, the end of my 4th month. And, I was just after everybody said, because that's all you know. When you're taught that way, that's all you can do until you learn different. And that's what leadership helped me do, is to learn how to actually be a spiritual leader to these men and help them grow in conflict resolution and, really trying to keep the end goal of resolve and focusing on growth. The brotherhood here at A Better Way is really just incredible. The big and the small thing, we have guys that leave the ministry and have lost their lives. We have guys here who lose their family members while they're in the ministry. And to see everyone come together and pray and go to the altar together and work things out, man. Even when there's arguments and, everything's just, everyone's at each other's head, there always ends up being a end resolution. Like, there's always forgiveness, there's always grace, and we always move forward and grow together. And well, that's really what kept me here. My trip to Florida was a real eye-opener because I grew up in South Florida. I was always around the beach, but I never experienced a peace like that ever. It was just overwhelming. When I pulled up to Brother John's house and see this big old beach house, we got out there pretty early morning after devotion, and Brother John was out there. Me and Justin Lambert were out there fishing, and it was really just a great time. First time I really kind of shared my testimony was with Brother John. We had a meeting upstairs on the top floor, just looking over the horizon. And it was really just very moving to see how much growth and how open and transparent the guys were being. The morning of the baptism, Brother John sat us on the beach, and he explained to us in depth what being baptized really means. He gave us a substance and really the true meaning of being baptized. And I felt really motivated to get in that water, give it all up right there and just walk in newness. I went down and came up. Really didn't feel anything crazy, but I knew that a change was starting. Something was starting there. It was the next step. My main intention when I first came here, my main intention was to just get my court case, handled, get my court situation handled. But God used that flawed mentality and that flawed perception, that intention to just do that, and He worked through it. And He not only, has worked out and is working out my court situation, but He's brought restoration with all of my family members. Those that I didn't care about at all. I didn't care about anybody. I didn't care about myself at all. I was a very ruthless, aggressive, angry, vengeful person. And now I have a heart to forgive. I walk in forgiveness. I try my best to see the God in people, to see my brothers the way God sees them. It's very hard sometimes, but I try my best to. And that alone is just a miracle to me. God's restored, I dropped out of school, I got my GED, my relationship with my father. The last time I was with my dad, we were shooting at each other. And I went down to Florida and we was just chilling. He's still going through what he's going through, but we're good. I was able to go down there and we didn't get in one argument, Better Way has made me take a real honest look at myself and know my true identity now, which is in Jesus Christ. As a child of God. I want to thank my brother Christian. I want to thank my mom for never giving up on me after all I put them through. I love you guys, and I thank you for dealing with me all these years.